What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Kick-Ass Podcast. We are back here today to discuss the 2024 WWE Royal Rumble. It was held at the Tropicana Field in St. Petersburg, Tampa Bay, Florida area. I was actually able to attend. Obviously, living in Orlando, it's not that far of a drive for me. It's about an hour and 45 minutes, supposed to be. But with me being terrible with directions and traffic, of course, it ended up being a little bit over 2 hours, but it was totally worth the drive. It was an awesome weekend. Got to meet up with some great friends. Shout out to all you guys, Josh, Ray, Bree, Dan, Aaron, Heather, Laura. I don't know if you guys will see this, but it was dope to see all you guys. Nolan, it was great to see you as well. But yeah, today we are here to talk the Rumble and to kind of give a perspective on the Onsite side of things. We will discuss the kind of elephant in the room and the dark cloud over everything, which is and was Vince, of course. So that's great to have to include. And before we kind of get into the Rumble as well, I'm happy to be back here. It's dope. It's so great to be back talking wrestling. I'm gonna try to get back on a more consistent schedule, or on a schedule period. I really miss just sitting here and bullshitting and just talking about wrestling. Hopefully, if things get to be a little bit more chilled and kind of more streamlined going forward, I'll be able to bring some guests onto the show as well and stuff like that. But you guys know me. If you've seen me before, I'm not one of those fancy, I don't even want to say like creators. I don't like labels in general. But I'm just me, man. I just sit here and talk wrestling, just kind of give my side of things, and if nothing else, it's kind of like a little diary for myself that you guys get to listen and react to and talk to me about. It's very cool interacting with you guys. And as I was talking to Josh, it's just cool. Wrestling brings people together, right? And it's just so cool to hear and to read and to see so many different perspectives, so many different takes, so many different angles to what everyone would do. So that's all I'm here doing. I'm just sitting here. I took the day off, thankfully, prior, because I know me. I'm that type of person where I need a day off from a vacation, quote unquote, or just anything that I do. Maybe it's just because I'm getting old too. But yeah, so I've just been kind of chilling today, and I thought, what better than to sit down and kind of reminisce on the weekend. I did obviously sit down and watch the Rumble via Peacock to kind of see well, not kind of, but to see what you guys saw and to get the perspective. I heard some mixed reviews. Some people were saying that the crowd sucked and they were dead. We were dead for portions of the show. Which yeah, I'll looking back on it, I will agree. But it's just so crazy, like when you're in there, you have a completely different perspective of what's going on and a different vibe, and a different energy. So you may think leaving the show that, oh, it's one of the fucking best shows out there, right? And then you go online or you listen to other shows or you just interact with other people who weren't there on site and they're like, oh no, like you guys sucked, like, and the crowd and just stuff like that. So long story short, it was a very cool weekend. The Superstore was dope. I have some videos that I started posting on my YouTube page. Maybe I may be posting the video of this after we wrap up the show here. But we'll see. We'll see. I am kind of weird when it comes to stuff like that still. So we'll see how that goes. But again, like I said, I just wanted to kind of sit down and just kind of word vomit all my thoughts from the weekend. Everything that's been going on the past week or so and just kind of go from there. But like I said, or I was getting to the point earlier, before I took a side road with you guys. Like I said, if you've been listening to me in the past, you know me. I go on many side roads and many tangents, so I apologize in advance. But just happy to be back here and I'm happy to be talking to you guys and thank you for listening and checking out everything. But I will, and I do already have some just small clips, nothing crazy, of videos that I took from inside of the arena. My seats were great. My camera sucks, but my seats were great. So I just took some videos of Punk's first entrance back because it was just so surreal to me. Just thinking of the evolution of Punk, right? Which is crazy to think of where we were 10 years ago, almost to the day, and to see him back here now. Super fucking stoked for Bailey. Bailey was my pick going into it. I was torn on the men's side of things. My heart wanted Punk, or I'm sorry, my heart wanted Cody because I've just the past 5 years or so, I've just really jumped on the Cody bandwagon, and Cody's my guy, but there's just something about Punk, man. Punk has been my guy before, and prior. And it's kind of one of those weird things, like I don't know. I don't even want to make analogies, but to me, Punk has just been my day one. So I felt like I had more allegiance to Punk. So my choice was Punk, just to kind of shake things up a bit and have Cody have one more obstacle to go through right through the Elimination Chamber. But being there and seeing how it played out, and obviously seeing the recent hype and some key phrases that they and angles and statistics that they came up with. Well, not came up with obviously because it's true, but that they were harping on prior to the Rumble, and definitely going in like on the promotional videos leading into the match itself, it ended up being a no-brainer. And then of course with the 2K24, right? I think it's 24. Obviously, yeah, it's 24. But the 2K24 with Cody being on the cover of the standard edition, and the story of it being his story, the finish his like not finish his story, but finish his story, right? And it's his journey that you will be going on as a wrestler, and if you choose to be Cody in the game. So I think with that, and then especially Michael Cole on commentary lately, just harping on the fact that no one since Stone Cold Steve Austin, I believe it was 26 years, has won the Rumble back to back. So with that, it'd be pretty shitty if you do all that hype and then Cody doesn't come out with the victory. So again, for me personally, Cody and Punk are like 1A and 1B, and I don't even really know who is A and B for me personally. I love them both, but I think, like I said, just longevity wise, Punk has always been there, so he may get the edge. Maybe no pun intended, but and obviously, I probably definitely have more Punk merch, but Cody has stepped up too. So that's all my rambling out of the way. But like I said, we will get into some things that I feel would be remiss and kind of weird and just not right of me to avoid talking about before we get into the Rumble. And if I'm looking to the side, it's because I'm reading some notes, and obviously I'll be reading some things once we get into the Rumble here as well. But that's why I'm looking to the side, and I may drink on some coffee here as well as we go through the show. But as everyone is most likely heard, if you're listening to a show like this, you've definitely heard the just disgusting revelations from Vince McMahon. Well, not from Vince McMahon, but regarding Vince McMahon, and just everything that has come out from the alleged victim. And I say alleged not to downplay anything that she went through, but of course, everyone in the United States is innocent until proven guilty. But I mean, when you get in a certain amount of information, and it's almost scary to think that this is probably just a fraction of what's actually out there, or that's actually happened, right? Then that's only a fraction of what we've been made privy to. So that's why I say it's scary, right? And it's scary to think about what she went through, and it's scary to think if everything that comes out is 100% true, then what the fuck, Like it's just it. There's just so many different avenues to go down, right? And there's just so many different things to think about and to feel. And this is coming from someone who's like 1,000, 2,000 feet away perspective wise, you know what I mean? So to sit here and be conflicted just how to feel about a number of things going into Rumble weekend, to continue being a wrestling or maybe just specifically a WWE fan. And then to think of what this poor woman went through, like I said, allegedly, right? But yeah, so it's sad. And I am so sorry for her, and so sorry for people who experience and have to go, well, not have to, but end up going through things like that. I'm not gonna sit here and go into the specifics. It's disgusting, it's horrific, it's deplorable, it's all of those adjectives that you can think of. And you, like I said, if you're listening to it, especially with how far removed we are at this point, even though it's just a few days, but it's still, like I said earlier, if you're watching me, if you found me, then you already know what's happened, and you don't need to listen to me recite the disgusting things that were alleged and that were revealed, and the screenshots that were out there. Yeah, it's just disgusting. That being said, it's another another route that made me or that made me think of as well is obviously which other people have spoke on the who else knew, right? Because in the allegations in the report, she stated that a lot of the I think they call it techs or just like the production crew. There's a cat in the background. Shout out Vix. Um, that Vince was showing them pictures, text messages, videos, whatever of her. Um, so it's kind of sickening to think of who that we would know and who knew, and it's just sad and scary to think about. And that's another thing that I think maybe a lot of guys don't understand, right? Because a lot of the I don't I just weird labels, right? But a lot of the wrestling content creators, podcasters, YouTubers, reporters, journalists, whatever their title is, the majority of them are guys, right? And the majority of them don't even understand what it's like to walk down a street and not be scared necessarily, but to be on alert and to always be cognizant of your surroundings. And I think about it obviously, right? Whenever I go anywhere, even if I'm just walking, leaving my door and just going to my car, which is not even 100 feet in front of my building here, right? You think about it all the time. Being a female, you think about it constantly. What? Yes, I'm the female, and maybe I shouldn't, but I with my anxiety and whatever, I am that person who walks around with like earbuds in, right? Especially going to stores if I'm by myself. Even if I'm not by myself, a lot of times it's just like a soothing, like a I don't want to say a coping mechanism, but it's just something else that provides me comfort, just having at least one earbud in, listening to something. And for me lately, the past couple of years, it's been podcasts, documentaries, just things like that that I'm listening to. Not even music so much lately, which is a whole nother subject. But I'd say that to say a lot of the guys out there just don't get it. Just don't. They're like, and this is why kind of I didn't even want to talk about it, right? Or get into it in depth, but as I sit here and talk about it, I find myself getting more and more into it. But it's one of those things where the question is, oh, why didn't you just leave, or why did you allow it to continue to happen, or why do it? Why not just leave? And it's even hard for me to speak, because even though I'm a female as well, it's not like, oh, just because you're female, you understand everything, because I don't. I Thank thankfully, like I have never been in a situation that she allegedly has and was in. So from an outsider, it's very easy to say, why didn't you just leave? Why didn't you just stop? Why didn't you just quit? Why didn't you just report him? And I find myself saying that too, like why? Why this, why that? But and that's who I am as a person. I question everything. You can ask every boss, every relationship, every friend. Like I'm not like oh my god, like I have to know like why, but like for me, I just need to know the reasoning behind things. And even if it boils down to you don't need to know the reasoning, then okay, like I'm not that person where I have to know, but in a way like I have to know as backward as that is. Like I just need to have some type of foundation, I guess, or starting point or whatever it is, right? But I think with situations like this, you just have to hope that first of all, someone wouldn't go to these great lengths to doctor evidence to come up with all these screenshots to say the horrific things and allege the horrific things if it didn't truly happen, right? And on the flip side of that, if it didn't happen and all of this is bullshit and made up, then that's a whole nother clusterfuck, right? Um, but to be a female and to put yourself out there and not even to be anonymous anymore, right? For the longest time we didn't have a name. And if this is I'm not sure, and I'm not obviously not going to speculate, but if this is tied into the original reports that happened, what, a year and a half, not even 2 years ago, with is what caused Vince to have to step down to begin with, and which accelerated the sale, most likely, of WWE. It takes a lot to put your name, to put your reputation, to put you as a human being out there saying, I went through all of these horrible things by the hands of this man, and he then allowed this or caused this to happen, right? So, and again, I'm not getting into specifics because it's, it's something else. But I say that to say that it makes, which in a lot of ways, I don't even want to say what I'm about to say because I feel like it doesn't even matter in the grand scheme of things, right? But it makes even going to the wrestling events, and especially obviously WWE, uncomfortable. Like, I spoke with my friend Josh when we were, I think, I don't know if we were on the way to the stadium at that point or when we were going to get something to eat prior or whatever, but it's kind of conflicting, right? It's like, damn, like, hearing everything that just happened and all the allegations and the who knew what, it's like, bro, like, we're going to this event and gonna have a good time and all this shit, and it's like, this woman just went, or not just went through, but went through all this stuff prior, and it's just, it puts a weird feeling and a weird damper on things, right? But again, we don't know for sure what happened, and it's not my place nor my responsibility nor my job to sit here and say this person is being truthful, this person is being truthful. All I'm here to say is, if this is what truly happened, I am so sorry for that poor woman, and I feel for her, and I just implore the wrestling community, and I'm just speaking with us. Obviously, there's tons of other celebrities out there. There's other scandals out there. And I don't even want to call it a scandal because that sounds kind of like clickbaity. But just other high profile men out there who have and are being accused of various things, and just be nice to people, you know. You don't have to mock what she went through. You don't have to, or the allegations, you don't have to even really comment on it. You know, no one is forcing you to comment on the specifics. No one is forcing you to read the details of what happened. Yes, it's obviously been made public, right? That's how we all know. But it's not our business in a lot of way. It's what was needed to be made public to proceed with lawsuits, whether it's going to proceed past civil and lead into criminal. That's, again, not my place. Not, I know nothing about that side. I love true crime, but I know nothing about the law. I am not credentialed. I'm just someone who watches shit and talks about it. You know what I mean? So, um, but yeah, I felt, like I said earlier, that it would kind of be a disservice to just jump right into the Rumble and not say anything. So, um, like I said, if everything checks out to be 100%, and yeah, if it checks out to be 100%, I'm so sorry for her, to her, for Vince's family, for everyone who was not involved directly in that and is finding things truly 100% out now. Can you imagine? Right? Can you imagine being Stephanie, being Linda? Like, again, have no idea what their relationship is. It's none of my business. I don't need to know. But still, she's still, as far as I know, I could be wrong, but as far as I know, she is still married to the man. And to be still tied to him, and to hear about what this woman has reported that's happened, I couldn't imagine, right? I couldn't imagine being married to someone, even if I have nothing to do with them, just still being tied to them. And even in the past, it's just that I couldn't imagine, right? And then the Stephanie route. It's, again, I'm hoping, and I hoping is an understatement, that Stephanie, Triple H, Nick Khan, those three in particular were not involved and had no prior knowledge and were finding things out. Maybe they had an idea that some infidelity happened or some allegations were going to come up, right? Which is what prompted the Wall Street Journal article from, I think it was was it 22 or 23? 2022? Time is a weird concept. But whenever it was, when all of this first started with Vince, and maybe they had an idea, like I said, things were going to be revealed, but if, and even knowing then, even if they knew when the allegations came out, I'm hoping, my point is I'm hoping they didn't know in real time when it happened and when it was happening and just ignoring it and just turning a blind eye. Because if that's the case, then I don't even know. I don't. What are we? It's just disgusting, And I highly doubt it. And again, it's not my place to speculate, and I'm not going to. I am going to. I try to approach everything with the benefit of the doubt. So, and by doing that, I feel sympathy and I feel sadness for Stephanie and for Triple H specifically because they're in the family, right? But Stephanie in particular because I can't imagine, like I again with like I said with Linda, but I can't imagine if I'm Stephanie being the daughter and seeing. And again, I didn't think I was going to talk this much about it, but as I sit here and talk about it, it just kind of stirs up more thoughts, right? But it's like sitting here and thinking about all the things that we saw on TV, all the weird storylines between Vince and Stephanie and what we heard he wanted to do, and storylines that she just refused to, like the incest, right? And it's just like, bro, like that's why it kind of just it just makes you really conflicted. It just makes you really conflicted on what to feel, what to think, and how to feel going forward. That's why, as much as I don't want more information to come out, I feel like once this gets resolved, hopefully we'll have a better understanding, right, of at least who the parties were involved, right? It's pretty obvious the direction that we're all going to be leading towards rather feeling about Vince. Which is a whole other podcast, which I'm not gonna jump into that right now. But it's just it sucks, I guess long story short, it sucks. Because we are just here as wrestling fans. We're just here trying to enjoy a show and all this bullshit. And I say bullshit not to demean what she went through, but bullshit in the sense of the shit didn't need to happen. Like, and I think that's like a very minimal thing to say, right? But it's like it's just very conflicting, guys. It's just very conflicting. And to not sit here and go on and on about it for a half hour, 45 minutes to an hour when this is the Rumble show. That's kind of what I'll leave it at. And I think we'll probably touch on it maybe one or two other times in the show because I think some things that happened in a couple of the matches or the Rumble match specifically were in result of this. But with that being said, we will get right into the Rumble pay-per-view itself. Of course, the Rumble this year was held in Tropicana Field Stadium, in St. Petersburg, Tampa, which was very cool for me. It's like I said, like maybe 2 hour-ish drive, depending on if you're me or not driving. But the area was really cool. Just real quick before the pay-per-view itself, the area is dope. I live so close to it, but I have never really been to Tampa, especially that area in particular. I went there once for a different festival, but didn't really check out the area, and it was kind of more towards like the ending part of the day. But it's beautiful, and I say that to say Tampa, Florida, like Miami, Orlando area seems to be a place that WWE likes to come to. So if there's ever another event, another Rumble in the Tampa, St. Petersburg area, I'll just kind of give you an idea. The field itself, the parking was, from what I hear, a nightmare. Especially if you got the prepaid. My friend Josh and I were able we found parking a few blocks down, maybe 3-4 blocks down. But it was about 13-14 minute walk. It was so worth it. Parking was like $5 and it was good for over 24 hours. It was good until like the following day at like 5:30. So that was pretty dope. So I recommend that. And if you want a place to hit up before you go to the stadium itself, I guess it's called a stadium, right? But the stadium itself, Ferg's, is dope. It's huge. Not what I was expecting at all. I was expecting maybe like a smaller type place, but it was dope. Met up with some good friends there. Shout out Elvis Escobar from Enter the Lab and his lovely, lovely wife Bree. They are dope, and some other friends as well. But yeah, it was a dope place and a lot of cool, just vibey people, you know. So if you're in the area, definitely check that out. The stadium is literally right across the street from it, which is very convenient. The I paused because I was so surprised. But the security getting into the stadium was like nothing. So thankfully, it was pretty quick to get in. And guys, before I even get to the security part, the whole idea and the whole way to avoid waiting in line is not to get there right when the doors open. Wait like a half hour. Obviously, unless depending on the show time, but generally with WWE, especially with these bigger shows, they give you about an hour and a half to 2 hour time difference between when the doors open and when the actual show starts. Now, unless of course you're really pressed for the pre-show, do what you gotta do. But people were like, the line was like wrapped around the building to get in. So that was another reason why we stopped by first to get a drink or whatever and chill out. There's actually a pretty dope live band there too, cover band. Wouldn't play any wrestling themes. I think my friend Elvis said that they played a couple themes, but I don't remember what they were. But yeah, like don't wait in line. Wait, get there about a half hour, 20 minutes after. We walked right in, literally. So with the security, I had a small little bag, whole, and I they have a bag line and then like obviously like a non-bag line. So me and my friend Dan's girlfriend had bags, so we all just went to the bag line. They did nothing. We walked through the metal detector. Everyone was fine. I was thinking, okay, cool. Like maybe they're gonna check the bag when we get up there. No, they just scanned the tickets. I didn't even have my ticket. My friend Josh had my ticket, so they scanned his phone. Didn't look at my bag, and then by then we were literally on in the inside. Like the stadium store was right there. So it was just like the craziest shit. Like didn't check my bag. Didn't ask me to take anything out. And again, it was like the bag I had was like maybe like that big, maybe nothing crazy. But yeah, I was just like, wow, like y'all don't like you're not gonna check my bag, but hey, what else? Do you? But yeah, so very easy to get in. Very easy to get in. Parking is what it is. My friend Laura said that it was a nightmare getting out. So yeah, just note to you guys if you're ever going to visit the Tampa St. Petersburg area, maybe park a couple 3 or 4 blocks down, maybe save some money, or maybe just take an Uber. But getting into the show itself here, why you guys are here, if you're still around, is the Rumble itself, which again I will have kind of a different perspective since I was there in person. But the show, I believe they stated they had it was like 47,000, and I think it was like 47,000, 48,000 total. Which I thought they had originally said 57 going into it, so I was thinking closer to 60. But hey, still obviously a good amount of people. The WrestleMania sign and theme this year is well, the sign it's like a green, which obviously Philly Eagles, but I love it. I love the theme. I love the logo. The sign is massive in person, which is very cool to see. We're bummed we forgot to get a picture, obviously doing the thing that we all hate, the point to the sign, but when you're there, man, you just gotta fucking do it. You just gotta fucking do it. So the seeing all that in person is cool. And guys, if you've never been to a show and you debate on it, definitely go. Especially now, like with how fun everything is and the vibes with everything, definitely go now. But getting into the card itself, we had Pat McAfee make a surprise appearance as a special guest commentator for the show, which fucking great. I love Pat. I am a huge Pat McAfee fan, so got a lot of love from me. And he has I don't know if it's his first WWE shirt, but he has a new WWE shirt out in WWE shop. I think it says sorry about it or some shit. I'm pretty sure that's what it says. I was so close to getting because again I love Pat, but they got a lot of my money already this weekend. So I was like, I may come back and revisit that one later on. But that was the kind of really the only thing that I know that happened prior. I didn't see the pre-show and I didn't go back and watch the pre-show. There was no matches for the pre-show itself either, so not really missing much. But the first match on the card was a great way to start off the match or the show itself rather with the 30 women Rumble match. And the energy, and this is where you guys may think, like, what the fuck she talking about if you were watching it at home, because the energy to start the show and to start the night was just fucking like pumped. Like everyone was just so happy. And that's what me and my friend were talking about too. Like wrestling fans and wrestling culture is just so cool because you, at least in me, like I've made so many close and just dope friends from strictly through wrestling. And I would have never met these people if it weren't for wrestling. And being there in person is no different. Like you just dab people up as they walk by and just dumb shit. And like it's like you know these people your whole life and you have no idea even what their name is. So I mean, of course there's some creeps here and there, but the majority, it's just a dope vibe and a dope feel. So that was my perspective, and watching it back, there were some dry moments. And being there in person, there were some down moments too, right? You're not gonna be pumped the entire time, but I didn't think it was as bad as people were saying. But again, getting into the match itself, we started off with Natalia coming out, which was cool, pretty standard. And then we got the surprise, quote unquote, return of Naomi, which was probably one of the worst kept secrets of the night going into it. But man, the reaction, and I need to post that video that I have as well because it was so dope just seeing the love and just the reaction and the surprise, just being there in person for Naomi, but just seeing the reaction from the fans and just feeling it, and seeing her entrance is so cool too with the lasers and stuff. Like they really like production, obviously, is just next level. But it's just so cool. It's just so cool to see. So I'm very happy Naomi is back. And I'm happy that she had the performance that she did. She was in there for I think I don't have the time here, but I think it was maybe if it wasn't over an hour, it was close to it. She was definitely the Iron Woman of the match. So that was very cool. Then I think they got yeah, and it was also very cool because she had literally just finished up with TNA, so to see her leave TNA and then come back to WWE and kind of smoothly was pretty cool. Number 3 was the winner, and obviously it's not a spoiler at this point, but my pick as well. Good old Bay. Bay was coming out at number 3. I was kind of worried, but then I was like, no, this is perfect to get her in early, not number 1 or 2 with the for the cliche numbers, but still early enough because what 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute difference. So I love that she came in early. I love that it was obviously within the first 10 to give her more credibility too. But I think if you're gonna have the slow transition of Bailey going back into face Bay, you want her to have a close to an Iron Woman performance like Naomi as well. So I think that was a very good and smart move, especially in hindsight. Um, but so much love for Bay from me, so I was happy with that. I'm not gonna go through all the entrants here, but number 5, and sorry, no disrespect to Candice LeRae, I don't want to just jump her. But Candice LeRae came out at number 4, and number 5 was fucking cool. Jordan Grace, obviously the TNA knockout. I guess it's kind of redundant. Knockouts. I was gonna say women's champion, but knockouts champion Jordan Grace, and she looked fucking phenomenal. Like that woman, the transformation that she's made to her body, I think within the past 2 years, it's just insane. So props and shout out to her. Like she is beautiful. She is a unit. She is someone to keep on your radar. I don't know how long she's gonna be with TNA. I think she just re-signed with them, and I think it was maybe for a few years. Which, if I'm TNA, I'm locking her down as long as I can. So smart move by them. But man, I think WWE, especially after her performance in the Rumble, I think they're going to be writing her down and keeping her on the good old fashioned cork board, bulletin board up there that I still have, and just pinning her up there to keep tabs on because she showed out, and I'm so happy. I don't know what that means for WWE and TNA partnership going forward. I was kind of bummed. Not to jump the gun here, but I was kind of bummed we didn't get any interaction with TNA in the men's Rumble match, which I was kind of expecting to with having Jordan Grace come out here. But yeah, and thinking back on it, or thinking about it now rather, it's kind of cool that they did it. I'm glad that the only surprise from a different company type thing was Jordan Grace, and she got that moment and she got the shine. So shout out to her for all the greatness that she did. The tie-in that they had with her and Naomi and playing off of Trinity in TNA, dropping the title to and losing to Jordan Grace prior to making her return here to WWE. And it's kind of like Jordan is following her, right? Like you didn't get away from a girl, like I got your title, but I want one more beatdown type shit. But it was cool that they weren't just like going right into fighting or like some like dumb corny shit. Like I love that they took a moment to embrace and to feel that moment and to acknowledge it and to whether and it wasn't long 5, 10, 15 seconds, but to hug it out and to just realize what the fuck is happening, and to really let it set in. But then I love that before they even like completely got like a foot of space in between each other, they were hitting each other, right? And they went right into beating each other's ass. So I love that. I love everything about it. I love the involvement. I love what it can mean for the future. It's very exciting. It's very promising, and I think that TNA is a good partner. I don't want to say partner in that sense for WWE, but a good beginning measure for WWE to branch out and to not just be so, oh, it's mine, the wrestling world, right? To be more giving and to be friendly, So that was cool. Again, not gonna go through each one individually here because I ain't trying to sit here for an hour and keep your guys' time when we already know what happened. But obviously we're gonna hit the main points here. I think the next one for me personally was Chelsea Green, and you guys may not have been expecting that, but I love what Chelsea Green did here. I love that she redeemed herself from last year, right? She was eliminated in 5 seconds last year, and then this year she came back and she really shined. Her and Piper Niven, I love their dynamic together. I've joked that they're Shawn and Diesel esque, right? Obviously not to that level, but just the partnership and the dynamic. I just love it. Um, so yeah, Chelsea Green caught me, and especially it was very cool, like seeing some more little things that she did watching it back on replay. But shout out to them and shout out to Piper Niven because she's really playing her role well as well. So yeah, shout out to them. I think Maxine moments also. And then fucking Nia, I think I have it. But I love Nia Jax, and I may be with the Nia Jax out there or Nia Jax fan out there, but I love Nia Jax, and I don't care, like I don't care that that's not really the popular opinion or whatever. And yeah, I understand what people said. Oh, she hurts people and all that bullshit. That's not my job to speculate, to judge. I don't know wrestling like that. I haven't gone to school. I haven't been in the ring. I don't know who's responsible for what. Obviously, if it's an obvious thing, it's one thing, right? Like if it's certain things are obvious, but certain things as fans, I think judge and just place blame when we really don't know what we're talking about in that regard. Um, So with that being said, I was literally the only person in my section, probably in the whole arena, chanting for Nia Jax, or just happy that she was there. Which I'm cool with. I'm cool with. But yeah, so Nia, if you ever hear this, if you ever see this, props to you, girl. I love what you do. And I think what she's done on the mic too, like she's very underrated in that regard. People maybe not underrated, but people just don't want to give her props, And I think the way she controls the crowd on her promos because obviously she's gonna get hit with the what, right, whenever there's a pause from the fans. And I just love how she plays into it. I love how she expects it. I love how she doesn't let her throw it off or she doesn't let it throw her off, right? Easy for me to talk. So yeah, I just love Naya. So shout out to her. And I wish they had better merch for her. And I don't even know if they have any. I'm gonna look that up later. But I may, depending on what it looks like, if they do, I may look into a Nia Jax shirt. But next out, notable names, we have Becky Lynch at number 21, which I wasn't impressed, and I'm not gonna say I wasn't impressed, but when I say that, I mean I wasn't blown away with what Becky did in the Rumble, and I was kind of expecting more, just character wise, right? And maybe storyline wise, but I guess it makes sense, and I'm cool with her not being really the focal point this year. Like it doesn't always have to be about Becky, and I'm cool with that. And I think it played out as it should have, but it was still kind of surprising. The number four number 24th entrant was one of the highlights for me as well, especially of the night. Was Valhalla. She came out. No, but she did come out. But it was R-Truth. R-Truth is just fucking gold, and I think WWE needs to protect him at all costs. I don't know what this man has been drinking his whole life, but he doesn't age. He still is in phenomenal shape. He looks like he just doesn't age. He's just fucking hilarious and entertaining. And the shit that the shit that he says and that he does, if anyone else were to do it, you would be like, it'd be like cringe or eye rolling, right? But like, dude just has a way and just a delivery about him. So, and one of my favorite moments was the hot tag and Dominic. Well, I guess I'm jumping the gun there. But we'll get to that. I need to write that down. Hot tag, but R-Truth, man, he's just a national treasure. Again, easy for me to say. But I'm going back through the list here, and I think there was one moment that I thought I wrote down, but I didn't write down. But obviously, the next notable entrant was number 28, with that being Jade Cargill, making her official debut for WWE. And I need to post that video as well, if I didn't already, on my YouTube page. So if you want to check me out there, which is what I believe, staying, and I don't know if I ever got back to earlier, but if I end up posting the video for this, check it out on my YouTube page at Kickash Podcast. Obviously the audio will be going out, or I would be sitting here talking into a microphone. But the video may be accompanying it as well on various platforms. But I do have a little page on TikTok as well with some random bullshit that I post with wrestling at Kickash Podcast as well, that you can find some audio or some visuals as well there. But the reaction that she got, y'all, was just fucking. She's a star, and it's crazy because obviously she's done nothing with WWE up until this point, beside making like a few like random appearances, walking out of a vehicle, being backstage, very limited things like that. But that star power is just something else. And it's there already, so it's just so just so exciting to think about what she's gonna end up being a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now. Sky's the limit for her. So, and I love that she got to keep her theme. So I just, everything about it, her performance, the feat of strength that she had, lifting Nia Jax and then flexing, like what the fuck? Like, come on, like just incredible, incredible. The number 30th entrant ended up being Liv Morgan, which was cool to see her back, which no real surprise there. I was kind of expecting it to be her. I didn't think going into it she was going to be the number 30th, but once I realized, being my friend Josh, like who we had left, if it wasn't going to be Mercedes, which it was pretty obvious it wasn't going to be at that point, then it was most likely going to be Liv. I love the ending of the match, though. I love that it came down to the final three being Jade, Liv, and Bayley. The ending on the apron always gets me timing wise. I love that Liv. I'm pretty certain it was Liv just knocked Jade off of the ring. Nothing too unbelievable or too like what the fuck. And then Bayley was right there and just kicked Liv Morgan out and secured the victory. And the reaction that Bayley got, and I call her Bayley like I know her, that Bayley got in their stadium, arena, whatever stadium, it was just so genuine, man. And it was just so loving. Like, and it was just so like you deserve this type shit without having to fucking chant that you deserve it corny bullshit. So I'm just so stoked for Bayley. I'm so stoked that she's finally getting her opportunity. I hate saying opportunity is like a key word of hers, but I'm just very happy for her. Obviously, she's probably going to be going towards the Io Sky route with Mania, but yeah, I'm just so happy for Bayley. I love the way they ended it. I think this was most likely the best women's rumble that they've had so far, and I think they started in 2018, which obviously there's not that many to pull from, but I think it was very good. I think it'll still stand the test of time, no matter how many additions we get to the women's roster. And I think it was cool that we didn't really get that many. I don't think we got any surprise entrants legend wise, which is surprising to think about in retrospect, but I like it. It's refreshing. You know, it's a real sign that we're looking forward, no disrespect. Because trust me, I would love to see Lita. And you know, but I like it. I like that we're moving forward. But moving on here, I'm not going to spend too much time on the next two matches. The Fatal 4-Way was what it was. Roman Reigns, your Universal Champion, defending against Randy Orton, LA Knight, AJ Styles. Everyone loves LA Knight. Yeah chants pretty much the entire night. There are more yeah chants now than woos, which is pretty cool. But it's literally the same match that we've seen. I'm kind of I don't want to say disappointed. Maybe that's too strong. Maybe it is fitting, but I think I'm uncertain on if disappointed is too strong because I kind of was expecting it going into it. I really didn't think that we were going to get a match any different variation of the match, I should say, going into it, especially with it being a fatal four way because there's no DQs. Um, you knew Solo was going to get involved. They were going to probably hit each other with some chairs, maybe a table spot here, go through the side barricade from the near the timekeeper. So it's just it's the same copy and paste Roman match that we've had. And again, it wasn't bad. And that's why I'm like I wasn't disappointed. It just was what it was. Um but I'm over it, man. I am over it and I'm not going to be like I'm not sitting here being a hater or anything like that, but I'm over the Roman reign. I am over him showing up 4 times a year. It's the same shit that we bitched about before, with Brock and not to that extreme, I don't think yet, or maybe it doesn't feel like that. And I don't think that I'm like with Brock it was more annoying. With Roman, I think it's more understandable and more like okay, like this is literally his character and yes, it was that with Brock, but it was the perception with Brock was just that he doesn't give a fuck. With Roman, it's that he's just too good to be here every week. And so I think character wise, and I think that is what I'm still settling on and still that's what's like putting me at ease. But I'm ready. If you guys listened to me before and you know me in real life, I was mad that Cody lost last year at Mania, and I will stay on that mountain. I will die on that hill that Cody should have won last year at Mania. I don't think Roman needed to win. I don't think Roman has had a stellar year since then. I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and hate on it, because I'm not that type of fan and I'm not looking to be negative Nancy or anything like that. But I'm ready for a change. And I'm very, very excited that we seem to be going in that route, in that direction. And I love what they did, which I keep jumping the gun. But I love what they did with the ending of the men's match after Roman's match. And it kind of makes more sense now why the Fatal 4-Way went on second, because we got to see Roman sitting in the skybox or whatever they're called, the suites, later on in the Rumble match to watch, which is logical to see who he's potentially going to be facing at Mania. And I love that they had Seth and one that was, I think, adjacent to Roman. So that was very cool. Very cool. I will say though, a side note, being there live in with any show, wrestling show for that matter, I really do miss the the commentating team. I miss hearing them. I miss following the show. Right? It's just it's something's missing. Right? Well, obviously something's missing, but a dynamic of the wrestling show is missing. When you don't hear what they're saying too. So don't take them for granted. Let's remember to not take them for granted. But again, I'm not going to get into the match specifics there. It was what it was, and shocker, Roman retained. um, Next up, we had Logan Paul versus Kevin Owens for the U.S. Championship. For me, I'm still learning to love Logan Paul. I respect him as an athlete, and I respect what he can do in the ring, and I respect the dedication and training and work and effort that he's putting into being a wrestler and not just being some celebrity who comes in and expects to just hit 3 moves and be fed the match. He's really putting in time, and I think he really does want to be involved with wrestling more. So I think my love for him is just going to grow too, which if you would have asked me a year ago, I would have been like, what the fuck? But he's growing on me, guys. He's growing on me. I still need time to love him fully or to like him and then learn to love him, but I don't hate him. I don't dislike him. I don't ignore things that he does now. I tried Prime. It's not terrible. So, yeah. Um so that's why I was looking forward to seeing Logan Paul there. It's obviously very fucking cool to have Logan there and to see a Logan Paul match, which is still crazy to say. And I was stoked that it was against Kevin. I don't want to say again with this one that I was disappointed as well, but the finish to me was interesting. Of all the times there's been cheating in matches when things have been left in the ring that are laying right there that are so obvious that I don't know, for the referee to see the brass knucks on Kevin's hand this time and to stop counting to 3 and for that to be the ending of the match for Kevin to get disqualified. Um I don't hate it, but it's just not consistent and it's just not what we're used to, and it makes so many other things in the past come to mind and so many other finishes in the past come to mind. But and I think that's why it bothers me. If they're being more consistent with it and like not doing this shit every week, right? But like more frequently and having a maybe out of the year 5 matches or 5 instances where the referee didn't actually see the initial contact, right? Like he didn't see Kevin put the knuckles on and then punch Logan in the face, but he saw the knucks on Kevin still, or he saw them laying on the ring, or he saw him Kevin throw them out of the ring. And then that led to him either completely disqualifying Kevin or just breaking up the sequence right there, not letting Kevin go for another move or the pinfall or anything like that, or a submission, anything, and allowing whoever it is, whether it's Logan Paul, and I'm just using this as an example, allowing Logan Paul to recover, right? If he's not completely knocked out, right? And to the point where he can't defend himself and like in storyline, right? And letting the match end that way. But it's kind of like where they interfere, but come down and like beat up someone prior to the match starting and then the referee just automatically calling for the bell. It's like, well, then why doesn't everyone do that shit, right? But if you allow the person who was attacked to like regain themselves, kind of get their composure and assess if they're good to go, then that's on them to be like, all right, yeah, let's go. So I think that's where I'm coming from with it. But again, I didn't hate it. It was just like, I think at first it was jarring, right? It's like, it evokes that what the fuck and like you want to boo and you want to like not hate it but you want to dislike it. But I think if they're going to maybe go that route a little bit more going forward and have allow the referees to have more authority and be more cognizant of what's going on in the ring, then I'm maybe here for it. So that's TBD. But we'll see. um Yeah, I didn't mention that one of Logan Paul's guys interfered in a match. I just don't know who it is. I still don't watch the podcast that Logan does or anything like that. So I'm not at that level yet with my fandom of the Paul brothers or Logan Paul specifically, but one of his dudes tried to interfere and whatever. um they did have a lot. I have a note here that they aired a lot of Hulk Hogan video packages, and just a lot of like Clearwater videos, which is kind of odd, but whatever. It is a pretty area, but we don't need Hogan to be the spokesperson for Clearwater. Like, I'm good, brother. Um, yeah, okay, so here we go. Here was the attendance figure. It was 48,044 people, which is cool when they get specific like that. You know, it's like, oh man, if I wasn't there, it would have just been 48,043, you know, but since I was there, it's 48,044. Um, so probably not, but it's just cool when they break it down to that. I'm just like a nerd for numbers, so it's cool to see. And I like that. That seems like a more reasonable number. Like, I feel like in the past, if that's the actual number, that would have been like, oh, near 60,000 people, which is what I thought it was going into it. So I kind of respect the more modest, and that's not even modest, right? 48 fucking thousand people. Um, but I respect them kind of being more realistic with it too. And also I love the little videos that we got going, or I think that was kind of threaded throughout the night with the wrestlers showing up to the arena prior to in the back stretching. We saw a lot of them arriving to the arena, whether it was walking out to the ring or getting out of a van or a car or whatever, and bringing their bags in, kind of like the NBA vibe. You know, like I see, so like the NBA does it more than anyone that I had noticed and that I follow rather. They just should post clips just of the guys arriving, and it makes them feel like stars. So I dig it, and I like the little sports things that we're doing. You know, it's not being something they're not, but it's branching out and learning new things and trying new things and just doing different shit, which is not even it's not even that groundbreaking, right? Like we're not even me. I'll speak for myself. I'm not even asking for you to reinvent the wheel. Just like do different shit. Try different shit. Like you're a production company. You literally can do whatever you want. Like production wise, like that's what frustrates me with AEW too, which I'm not going to get into obviously, but it's like try new things, be dynamic. But we're gonna get into the Rumble match because I said I wasn't gonna sit here for an hour, and here we are. But I thank you guys, and I will put timestamps down as well to separate it if you don't want to listen to all the Vince McMahon bullshit in the beginning. I wrote it down where we actually started talking about the Rumble itself. So I appreciate you guys for sticking around and listening and just checking it out to begin with. But the Rumble, the men's Rumble match is the main event for the evening. The number one entrant was Jey Uso, and everyone in the arena loved Jey. There was this kid, I think 2 or 3 rows ahead of me, who had a yeet sign with lights, like spelling out the word yeet, which is really cool. And I need to go back and double check. I didn't pay attention, but I just remembered it now. If he made video, because I was right, or if he made the screen, because I was me and my friend Josh were right behind him, and my friend Dan too. Dan might have been in front of him, but right near the kid. So if you see a sign, or if you saw a sign ever that a little kid was holding that said "Yeet" with blue lights lit up, I was right behind there. So see if you can see me. But yeah, the match started. Jey was number 1. Jimmy was number 2. Kind of felt that. I love it. Again, I have called it for I don't even know how long now. WrestleMania 40, the City of Brotherly Love is where we're gonna get Jey versus Jimmy, and I fucking love it. You can literally sit here and write so many playoff and like phrases and puns and storylines and just angles that you can go off of just with that phrase alone, and just it's just cool. It's just cool, and I want them to start interacting more. And obviously, now that we're in Mania season, they're going to. But I wanted one of them to cost the other the Rumble, which is what I was disappointed on. With that aspect. So unless I missed something, because honestly, to be honest with you, I don't even know if I have it written down here. I didn't see who eliminated Jey. But yeah, like it just I don't know. I think they could have milked it more is my point. Number 4, we got Andrade, which is very cool to see him back. Dude's fucking jacked. I love it. Carmelo Hayes, obviously, I think after Mania season, he's going to be called up to the main roster. I can see that. I can see them wanting to finish everything in NXT. No reason to pull him up here now prior to Mania, right? Like, you're not going to throw him on Mania last minute at this point, and you don't want to. You don't want to rush him. You don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to rush him. You don't want to force feed anything with him when you can have him grow naturally on the main roster. And I think that he needs to finish up the storyline that he's doing in NXT too, right? With Trick and all that. So but it was just cool to see him here. And props to Mello. Shinsuke came out at number 6, which I love Shinsuke. It's just cool. It's just cool to be there and to sing his little entrance. Next couple, Santos and Karrion Kross, I'm intrigued with what they're doing with Karrion Kross and the Authors of Pain going forward. I hope that they're really going to put some focus on Karrion Kross and maybe not focus, but just thought in behind the character and to see what they do with that group. So that could end up being something darker and more not as entertaining as Judgment Day, but like a different route with maybe like a same foundation, just a different structure, maybe. But number 9 is Dominic, and I fucking love Dominic. Everyone hates him. But it's just great. It's just great that where we are now with Dominic Mysterio compared to what 2 years ago, 3 years ago, night and day. And this kid is only getting better, and it's so fun to see. It's so fun to have witnessed him as a literal little kid, when his custody was being fought over in the ladder match, to seeing him in the Rumble now, and to seeing him hit the hot tag with R-Truth, and it's just in the Rumble match. It's just so crazy, and it's just so fun to see. And I'm here for it. We got Carlito at number 10, Bobby Lashley at number 11. Finn Balor came out at number 14, and then Cody Rhodes came out at 15, which I'm very happy about. I'm very happy he came in at the number that he did. I think that was a good number with how they're going to have things play out. So very happy with the way they kind of structured that. Again, not gonna go through everything. Gunther came out at number 18, which I thought was pretty cool, having him come out a little early, but not as early as last year. Especially since he wasn't going to be the main talking point coming out of it this year. But I like that right before Gunther came out, Ludwig was just eliminated, so that's an interesting little foil there. Braun Breaker made his Rumble debut at number 20, and he had a good showing. A lot of people are saying he replaced activity-wise in the Rumble what Lesnar was going to do. And I didn't mention Lesnar earlier on in the Vince thing. To be honest, it completely escaped my memory that he was involved until now. I don't think that Breaker was a replacement for Lesnar, but like I told Josh, I think Pat McAfee was the replacement for Lesnar to fill that spot and to just take that role. Which, with that being said, Pat McAfee was the surprise number 22 entrant. Omos did come out at number 21, but I'm over Omos, and no offense, I don't buy into that stuff. I've never been the giant, like a big body guy, like fan. Like I've just never, that was just never like a selling point for me. Like I was never drawn to those type wrestlers. Andre being the big difference or the big whatever you want to call it there, but other than that, it just never really did anything to me. But my guy, R-Truth, came out number 24, fucking MVP there. Number 25 was the Miz. Pretty cool little awesome truth moment there. Damian Priest came out number 26, and then my fucking guy, man, CM Punk came out at number 27. The coveted number, right? That's the number in the past where they've said that, especially when they do I forget what they mentioned about it this year. Maybe it's kind of gone down statistically, but that was always one of the higher numbers where people would win. My words are escaping me right now. But one of the higher likely numbers that if you pull that you'll win. But it's just still so surreal, man. Time is a weird concept. Wrestling is a fucking weird world that we live in. And just to think that 2 years ago, so much in the wrestling world was different. 4 years ago, Punk wasn't even back in wrestling. 2 years ago, he was with a completely different company. A year ago, 6 months ago, he was with a completely different company. Right? It would still be 6 years ago, 7 years ago. You guys get what I'm coming from. And now he's returning to the Royal Rumble. 10 years from when he left. Almost to the fucking day, y'all. It's just like you literally couldn't have written it better. And or have hoped for it to go any better. Like I never would have imagined it would have played out how it did. And I think that the ending of the match and the way the Rumble match ended, and we'll just get there because obviously we've gone long here. In the next few where they were. We had Ricochet, Drew McIntyre, and Sami Zayn coming out. Sami being the number 30th and returning from injury. So that's cool. Sami Zayn's dope. No disrespect to any of them guys. But in the final four did end up being Cody, Punk, McIntyre, and Gunther. But the final two is really what it's about, right? And I think I was torn, like I mentioned earlier. I was torn with who I wanted to win between Punk and Cody for my own personal reasons. But I think storyline and business wise, it just made more sense for Cody, right? Cody's the guy. Cody is the face of the company. He is the guy. And that's why it infuriates me that he didn't win last year. Like, we could have just been building and building and building. And then this year, had Cody won last year, just think about it, right? Think about if Cody won at Mania, he defeated Roman Reigns last year, okay? He's been the champion going on a year now. Punk returns. Who would have fucking expected Punk to return, right? Punk wins the Rumble this year because you don't have the issue with Cody being in there. Cody finished his story last year. Cody is starting his new story. We are on a new book. We are on book number 2, right? For Cody and his story. Maybe even Brady came back. I don't know. Depending on the route that Cody's character is taking at this point. But just to say Cody is the exact same character and he's perspective wise, he's in the same role, right? Just growing at this point because he's the face of the company and the machine's behind him. He's making the rounds. He's the guy, right? Punk comes back. Punk comes back, wins the Rumble. Now Punk, you can still have Seth if you still would have needed to create the World Heavyweight Championship. You can still have Seth being the guy on Raw. Cody's the guy on SmackDown, but Cody is the guy, right? And no disrespect to Seth or whoever would have been the World Heavyweight Champion, whether it's Seth, Gunther, Drew. No disrespect to anyone, but that title is that title. Just like back in the day, you had the World Heavyweight Championship. It was kind of secondary to the WWE Championship or the Undisputed Championship. It was what it was. That's the lineage, right? That's why Cody wants to finish the story with that title. So I think, if you would have had all of that building up and then Punk returns, just think of the story. Just think of the next, 2.5, 3-ish months that we have building to WrestleMania 40. You could have had Cody going in to WrestleMania 40 as your champion. You could have had Punk win the Rumble, officially start their story and get so much. You could have milked it for so much. This is almost the perfect amount of time, 2-3 months, to tell their story. You don't need to have them touch. Maybe the Raw leading into Mania, you can have a pull apart brawl. But I don't even think you need that. I don't think you need them to touch until Mania itself, until the bell rings, until everyone chants holy shit, until they lock up. I think that could have been the first time, right? And then do whatever with Roman. As crazy as that sounds, like Roman and Seth at that point, because that would have freed up Seth. Like if Seth, and even if he was, doesn't matter if Seth had the heavyweight championship or not. Roman and Seth can finally finish their story, right? Seth has never actually, I'm pretty sure Seth, they're like one of the variants of their story. Seth has never pinned Roman, and that could have been their story going into Mania. If you're not going to have the Rock avenue, obviously, if the Rock is free, fucking go for it. But if not, Roman could have faced Seth, and that could have, and it's just more poetic with it being WrestleMania 40 as well, right? Maybe next year, since Seth cashed in and interrupted the Mania match at 31 with Roman, maybe that'll play into it more if we don't get Rock then. Yeah, man, I feel like that's where we could have gone. And again, maybe a lot of it's 2020, but 2020 hindsight, but I just feel like Cody should have won last year at Mania. I'm very fucking happy he won this year. I love the way they ended up playing it out with Cody eliminating Punk. That adds a nice little layer to their story that we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of in WWE with everything that we can tie into, right? But I love it. I love that Cody is a back-to-back Rumble winner. I love that he is finally going to be able to finish his story. I love that it's leading into finally the ending of Roman's reign. I think that if it doesn't happen this year, I'm just going to lose my mind. I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going to happen. But you can't not pull the trigger. I don't give a shit who's number 3 in the history books, who needs to be dethroned reign wise, like, oh, he needs to pass Hogan's days. No, he doesn't. No one gives a fuck about that. No one sits and thinks about that. The only time they think about it is when it's brought up. I don't know when we've ever compared, oh, well, The Rock isn't a good champion because he didn't have X amount of days, or he's only number 12 on the who's held the title the longest reign. Like, yeah, it's cool statistic wise for people like me who like to read into stuff like that, but I don't sit here and enjoy a story or enjoy a character because they've been a champion for X amount of days. With Punk, with his reign in the past, it just added to his character. It added to his reign. It added to it, but it wasn't the reign itself. It wasn't the story itself. Like, oh, he's now 1,000 days. He's now whatever. Like that wasn't it. It was like, oh, Punk is doing a fucking great job as champion. He's a dick. His character was, when he was at the height of the best in the world, like, I don't want to say paranoia character wise in his mind, like, oh, he's the best and like he's out to prove this, that, and the third, and just mania, right? I guess is a better word. It just so happened he was the champion for, I think it ended up being what, 434 days or something around that. And then ironically enough, who ended that reign? The Rock. So I just think it's time. I know it's time. It's got to be time. If it's not time, I don't know what we're doing here. But speaking of time, thank you guys so much for sitting here and just investing all of your time into watching me, into listening to me talk about wrestling and to blabber on for over an hour now. I said I was going to do an hour, and here I am over an hour at this point. But like I said, I'll try to throw some timestamps in there and kind of break it up a bit for you. But again, thank you guys so much. I hope to be back soon with guests, friends, stuff like that. So until then, thank you guys so much and have a great night, guys. Enjoy wrestling, enjoy life.